We got my buddy Brad Berkwitt in the house, as I told you. I told you how you can find him. He's got the Ringside Report. He's on Twitter at Bad Brad RSR. I got that right, Brad? Welcome.
You got it right. Hey, Cheri, right. It's great to be back on with you.
So I've been on Brad's podcast. He's been on mine. We have some crossover. We have a lot of the same guests, but we're actually very, very different. So then we kind of go our different ways. And that's why I enjoy what he does. And hopefully he enjoys what I do when we have a little something different to bring to the table. Brad, I get pretty raw sometimes, but Brad, he gets real angry and he'll use words that when I was a kid would get my mouth washed out with soap. But sometimes drastic times calls for drastic measures. So Brad, thanks for coming by.
My system.
Yeah. So we've had a rough week, the debate, and then a week of people that we thought were allies calling for President Biden to step aside, and then some back down on it. As I said in my commentary leading up to this, we had George Conway putting a tweet and on Threads, saying, calling for Biden to retire and saying, well, Trump should too, as if that makes it different. And then all his fans like, he didn't say that. Oh, I show him what they said. Well, he didn't mean it, or that's not his Twitter address. And then they go, well, just move on and get over it. And that's what we're doing. And then he had some seriously misogynistic things to say about me, which means he knows I'm right. And so we're seeing this, people that we thought were allies just so quickly to jump onto their soapboxes, just forgetting how bad Trump is and saying that our president should retire and not run again because he's showing signs of being old, as if being old is somehow an illness. What do you say, Brad?
Okay, it's a lot to unpack. Let's go to the debate. I have no problem. I've said it myself privately and publicly. President Biden had an off night. Okay. However, they minimize the disgusting performance that Donald Trump put on with all of the lies. Okay. He is getting older. He has slowed down. So what? Look at what he's accomplished in 3.5 years. So we're going to judge him by a 90-minute debate. Okay. Let me, if I could, I want to talk about the debate a couple points.
Absolutely.
First of all, I'm tired of seeing conspiracy theories thrown out. I don't do conspiracy theories. Anything is possible, and you can make anybody believe anything you want, but I don't personally go down those rabbit holes. But the facts that I do want to talk about with the CNN debate, first of all, we know President Biden was the first one to agree to it. It was a certain format. They weren't going to have fact checkers. There was things that both sides agreed to. However, let's talk facts, because that's what I like to do when I'm on my show. John Malone, CNN owner, he sits on the Cato Institute. He donated $250,000 to Donald Trump. Okay. CNN to me is almost as bad as Fox. They're not quite there yet, but they're getting there. Judge Merchant, the hypocrisy, donated $35 to the Democratic Party with $15 earmarked for Joe Biden. They wanted Trump and his campaign wanted him crew wanted him thrown off the case. $35. The hypocrisy. Second, and you'll remember this when I bring it up, Cheri. Dana Bash in 2023, August 23rd, 2023, the article came out in the Esquire that Dana Bash and several other reporters were having dinner at an event. I believe it was a rally in Milwaukee with Trump, and she was having dinner with several other people with Jason Miller. Do you remember that?
I remember that. I do remember that. Yeah. How quickly we forget, though, right?
Okay, right. Very unethical to me. Okay. Not going with a conspiracy thing there, but I'm saying those are facts. Here's my problem with the fact checking thing. They agreed that they wouldn't have like Daniel Dale. They wouldn't have something across the screen or whatever they do there. But here is my problem. As Dana Bash, as a woman that gave birth to children, as a supposedly journalist, when Trump said 2 days after the baby is born or something like that, they were born, right then and there, the woman in her, before the journalist, should have checked him on that BS. Jake Tapper is Jewish. I'm 50% European Jew. As a Jew.
Dana Bash is too, by the way.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I know she was married to John King at one time. As a Jew, when it came up with the anti-Semitic stuff, Jake Tapper should have checked him. And I would not care if they checked President Biden if he said something that was so off filter, like I didn't even realize that he had made an error with something about Medicaid, the way he said it, but he meant the campaign said, no, he meant it like this. They didn't do that. So you don't have to fact check somebody when Donald Trump is outright lie after lie after lie. Ted Koppel, Sam Donaldson, Walter Cronkite, Dan Rather. I don't think any of those journalists, if they were.
No, you're right. Well, what you're saying, just to clarify, we're not even talking about all the details of the numbers and all just the regular lies that Trump said. You're talking about even the biggest, most outrageous, ridiculous lies and stuff he said that at a minimum they could have at least said, hey, wait a minute, come on.
Exactly.
And they wouldn't even do that.
No, and I have a problem with that. I don't care what the format was. The American public deserved for them to do that. And it was as bad as watching a Fox debate. Okay, even Chris Wallace, when he was with Fox, was tougher than they were. It's ridiculous. It's not professional journalism. And I don't know if John Malone, said do not do that at all. I don't know how it went down. Like I said, there's a million kids about lighting and putting stuff. I'm not going down those rabbit holes. Unless there's absolute proof, I'm not doing this conspiracy. But those things that I said that are facts, Malone donated the money. Dana Bash was having dinner with Jason Miller. So no, I don't agree with that. And like I said, as a woman, we know that Jason Miller,
puts stuff in women's drinks. So,
Yeah, no kidding.
we know that Megyn Kelly thought that perhaps Trump had her poison before that debate in 2016 because somebody at Fox leaked that she was going to ask questions of Trump about his misogyny. And he even openly threatened her that day. I hope you're fair to me. And she later pulled back on those comments because I think she got blowback, but she put it in her book. So it wasn't just some one-off comment. So I just want to put that out there because this stuff does happen. It does happen.
Right.
And it's not conspiracy theory. We can't say that it did happen. But we do know that President Biden, right after the debate, was at an after party and he was talking to the crowd. He had the microphone and he did well. He had said he wasn't feeling well that night, that something happened. So I'm not going to write anything else. I'm not saying it happened, but I really think that in this era, and we've been in this era for 9 years now, that we can't just dismiss it out of hand. I'll just put that out there.
Yes, I'll agree. I don't know if you know who Kyle Clark is. He's with Denver News Channel 9, and he's the one that hosted the debate with Lauren Boebert and the other one.
He called her
out. That's the way you do it, Cheri. That's the way you don't let them. I don't care if it's President Biden or Donald Trump, whoever it is. You don't let them blatantly lie. And everything out of Trump's mouth was a lie. They asked him about child care. He never answered it. If I was doing it, I would have said, look, you didn't answer the question. We're not going any further till you give me an answer about child care credit.
That right there. Let's talk about that because you're making a very, very good point. And you're not approaching this as a campaign strategist, but you are a message person because you are out there every day. You've got the Ringside Reports. You've got your political podcast. So you're out there. You know what people are thinking and saying. And I want to back up just to let you know what I said in the commentary. I'm not asking you to put together campaign strategy. You know that I'm a biggie on experts in their areas remaining experts. We have too many non-experts on TV claiming to be political strategists. Mike Madrid actually took off after Radio Free Tom. He then deleted the tweets because they're friends. But he's like, you're not an expert. Mike Madrid is. We'll talk about that in a minute. Now, what you do with a campaign, you first get all of your research and your data. I taught this stuff at the master's level. My first class, a lecture, 3-hour lecture was on research and data. You have raw data. You've got polling. You've got records. You've got Oppo research. Part of that data is the very strong, more than anecdotal, but you put it in your research packet, and that is the feedback and the information that you get from people like you, because you know veterans. You're out there as a veterans activist. You're going to DC for these events. You know veterans. I would say they are probably a little more, I would say the veterans are probably on the whole a little bit better informed politically. You also reach a whole different crowd with your Ringside Report because you're a former boxer. These are people who you expose to some politics who might not be paying close attention. So these are two different crowds in terms of the level of information they have and how much they're paying attention. That means that what you're saying and your impressions, Brad, and the stuff that you have to offer to go into that research packet that you start every campaign with before you put together your messaging, before you put together your plan, that's what I think they need more of. What am I missing? Anything?
No, I agree with you. Look,
tell us what you're hearing.
The thing that I constantly hear, and I've said it too, the Democrats are horrible at messaging. You had Jasmine Crockett. You sent me, I saw it, but you had sent me the tweet that she put out. Right away, bam, she came out the gate. Look, I stand with President Biden. He had an off night, but his off night doesn't negate 3.5 years of accomplishments, okay? You have these people, like you said, jumping on board and I, you know what, I feel it's a cottage industry. They want Trump to win. But you know what? If you want to be honest, Tim Miller and the rest of you clowns, I'm serious because I'm tired of them. If you want to be honest, just say what you're really trying to do. Because in this country right now, I don't care if you disagree with every policy President Biden has put forward. It is between democracy and autocracy. And I'm kind of want to not segue, but let me add this to it. Mike Pence wants to claim he's an American, right? Cheri, he's a great American. He's a great Christian. I have no respect for Mike Pence, but I would respect him 0.05 if he would do this. If he would come out, he's already said he won't endorse Trump, but that's not enough. If he would say, look, I don't agree with President Biden politically at all, but what I do agree with is this. He's the only person running for president of the United States on the thing in November 5th when we vote that is going to save democracy. And I'm willing to get out there and save democracy and still politically disagree with him. Nimrata Haley, the real name.
Right.
She hates him till she loves him. All these people. J.D. Vance said, I never liked Trump. Now he loves Trump. Cheri, I've never seen people sell, I won't even say their souls because they have no souls. They're black hearts.
Selling out.
Completely selling out. You know better than me because it's your wheelhouse. Now, maybe you thought differently. I don't know. We'll find out when I say this. I never thought for 1 minute that an African-American or a woman would be his vice president selection. Now, he still hasn't made it, and he may shock us. However, if you go on what they're saying, J.D. Vance, Doug Burgum, and who's
White
the other
guys.
one? And little Marco, Rubio, is the three top ones. Is there an African-American in there? Is there a woman in there? No way, because the misogynist big.
Marco Rubio. Here's the other thing. Marco Rubio is also from the state of Florida. You're not supposed to. You can't have both on the ticket, but they'll screw that. That's why when people say, "Well, you need Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom, both from California." But I want to back up because you brought up Jasmine Crockett, and she's such a rock star. She was on my podcast 3 months ago. I probably couldn't get her now because she's on Jimmy Kimmel, and God bless her, she's so good. That tweet that you're talking about, and I know the one. It wasn't just rhetoric. She also noted that none of these people who are on their soapboxes, taking out, acting like they're our allies and taking out President Biden. She noted that you're going to get these people on the ballot. What do you think you're going to do in 4 months? Do you really think you can introduce a new name in 4 months? So she's very smart. She's run campaigns. She's run for office. And she knows it. She knows how to do this stuff. And it makes me feel bad that she's known for taking on Marjorie Taylor Greene, because I think it's really sexist when they pit these women together and they like to say AOC, doing it just based on gender. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is the real thing. She has the policy. She knows the politics. So here's the thing. You've got these people going on TV who are not political experts, but they have been forced on us to the point where viewers assume they are political experts or campaign experts, which is different than the overall political experts. Not even considering before they open their big mouths, it was one bad night. And you don't know what else is behind it. The ramifications of what you're saying, particularly if you think that Biden is old and slipping, you have to look at Trump too. It's for them to go up in a vacuum and say this stuff, not even considering what it would take. Remember, we almost didn't even have Joe Biden on the ballot in Ohio. These MAGA idiots were keeping him off. For people to be talking like this without considering what they're saying, not considering that, It was one bad debate, not even considering how badly Mitt Romney trounced Obama in their debate, and what the polls said at the time. I think it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. These people want to stay in the game. If Biden is president, there's no need for these never Trump Republicans. There's no need for some of these other people who have made their careers this way.
Exactly.
And yeah. And so, but they have done more damage or as much damage in the past week as the poor debate performance in itself. And now if Biden loses, they can say, see, we told you. So
yeah. I think it's despicable. He had a bad night. But here's the thing. You talked about when Romney trounced Obama in the first debate. You can go back to Mondale in 84 against Reagan. They said Mondale beat Reagan in the first debate. Reagan went on to win 49 of 50 states in that election. You had Cheri, who basically wiped the floor pretty much with Bush. I think he did. And it didn't matter. Cheri, when he did the Swift boat thing and all that, it was over. But it was one bad night. But was it what? But here's the thing, and I am as trying to be as honest as I can be. As soon as he started talking, I turned to Deb and I'm like, "What's the matter with his voice? What's going on here?" Okay. But as the debate went on, his voice got a little bit stronger. He got a little bit better. But let's put in context what also happened. Whether they prepped him too much with numbers or whatever, they got confused, and they obviously did. They obviously did. He got his zingers in, which I'm glad he did. They wanted him to show strength. But the problem was everybody expected this. This is what I feel, that Trump was going to get hostile, mad like in the first debate. He remained calm for him with the stupid faces that he makes and, wrong and all like he did with Hillary Clinton. He pretty much didn't do any of that. If anybody was on drugs, I think Trump was on downers to keep him calm. But Biden had to sit there and listen to this rhetoric that was absolutely false about immigration, about everything. Everything he basically said Trump was a lie. So then Biden had to use his time because Tapper and Bash didn't do anything but just ask a question and pretty much go on. Biden had to use some of his time to dispute what he was saying, then to try to get his numbers in. I think they prepped him wrong. It was too much facts. People didn't want to hear all of that. They wanted him to be a contrast to Trump, to show him looking presidential. This is my record. I can, I know this stuff. And it didn't work. No, it didn't work. But here's the thing. You still have Trump out there talking about if he's on a boat and the boat goes down, the battery or a shark. Insanity. Then you have them talking about, oh, well, Joe uses teleprompters, blah, blah, blah. But you had Trump at his rally that said the teleprompters aren't working and not going to pay those SOBs because they're not working. But the hypocrisy, it doesn't matter with the right at all. Then you have these people you're talking about, Cheri, that jump on now. He needs to step down. You have two sitting congressmen that I went after. I didn't get a chance to call their offices yet because I'm going to go off on them. Two sitting, one of them is from Arizona, one of them is from Texas. And I can't think of their names right now, but two sitting Republican congressmen. Doggett was one. Doggett, that's one of them. And the other guy, I can't pronounce his name, Raul something, who are calling for him to step down. I put on my Twitter page, both of them need to be primaried. No different than when I talk about Tlaib. Why couldn't they? Yeah, they don't have to make that public. If they really thought that, they can make a call to the White House. Maybe they already have. It's the going public thing, Brad. That's the thing. It's like this. Like we're going to try and damage you as much as possible, so you have to pull out. That's what is so disgusting to me. They should be primaried. I mean, this is a hot mess. Right, but what is also disgusting is it shows how as disgusting and despicable and unpatriotic and a million other things that I could say about the right. Everyone is out there, oh, Trump had the best debate ever. Da, 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 da. The right constantly does that, but the Democrats want to do, like Gavin Newsom, and credited Gavin Newsom. He jumped on board right away and said, no, I got his back. He had an off night. But see, we'll admit we have an off night. The Republicans will say, or especially the MAGA wing of it, and the other ones are complicit. The ones that don't think he had a great night, they won't say anything. They're just as bad as MAGA. Will say Trump had a great night. He did not have a great night. All he did was his greatest hits of lies. But that's where we're at in this country, which drives me nuts. The military loves him better than anybody else. Okay, there's a lot of people in the military that do love this son of a you know what. But there's a lot of people that are in the military that they don't speak up that I know that can't stand him. There's a lot of veterans that I know that can't stand him. He took credit for something with the veterans that actually Obama did. He took credit for insulin that Biden did. Where was Dana Bash and Jake Tapper with those outright lies?
Well, that's the thing. So in the veteran community, you just said there's two different camps. And I think that for other people who maybe aren't as clued in, or actually people who think they're clued into politics and news, it's because they only watch Fox News. They think they're informed. They don't know what they don't know, which was the whole genesis of my America Reads the Mueller report, because we were trying to reach those people that think they're informed that they're not. Those are persuadable voters, by the way. Do you think that pro-Trump MAGA veterans, do you think that there is some margins there where there are some persuadables that perhaps if they had fuller information, more complete information, that they, or are they just so locked in? They're so
no, Cheri, I'm going to tell you something. We're good friends. We don't pull no punches with each other. Absolutely. I don't feel that any veterans at this point or any people that still support Trump after January 6th with that insurrection that he caused, that he may walk on if he gets elected again. If you didn't look at what that was and not the BS, even that he lied about the insurrection, blamed it on Nancy Pelosi again, all that BS. If you're not, as a veteran, off the Trump train after January 6th, you're a treasonous traitor to this country. Your service doesn't mean diddly squat to me. I'm trying not to curse in this podcast today.
You diddly squat to me. Just a little
I know.
bit.
Doesn't mean shit to me. Okay. I'm not going to thank you for your service because you have negated the oath that I took and you guys took to the Constitution, raise our right hand, and you defecated on it. Because even if you don't like Joe Biden, Donald Trump is not your guy. He's not your guy. And he doesn't care about the military. And look, and I will not say general because I do not respect John Kelly one single bit. But I will say this. He is not lying about the suckers and losers line. He has nothing to gain. But here's my problem with John Kelly. He allowed Trump to attack Gold Star families, which was the Johnson family, African-American family where the husband was beheaded. He allowed him to attack him. He went after Frederica, I forget her last name, down in Florida, the congressman. Okay. He went after her, Kelly. Here's the thing. John wants to do sound bites and not, come on. Why is Kelly not out there right now saying these things on every news channel he could say it? That
I agree.
Trump is an existential threat. But I don't want to just call out Kelly. I want to call out General Mattis, who I actually like, McMaster, and Milley and Kelly should all be doing every 50 states, and they have the money to do it. They can pay for it themselves if they want to stay true Americans. And talking to people, and they may not get these veterans that are still with them, but they may get these people that don't listen to, that are not on Twitter, that don't even watch anything, but they're in a complete bubble, or maybe they do just watch Fox, and talk to them and maybe peel off some of them because they were generals in the military aspect.
What about if there was an effort to use them? If they decided to put in any effort, they think they have to make one statement. That's all they think. They think they need to do, but they could be doing something like a little bit of a roadshow and really talk and target veterans. The group that you're telling me, who if they that they can't be moved. I think that after the January 6th, there might be some on the fence. I don't know. Maybe there's some who are feeling disheartened and might go the other way, and to hold them. But they could be doing something. I think you make a really good point. That would make a difference to a lot of people, even not to veterans, but people who simply respect the generals, the military, yes. And they could do that. So that's where guys like you who have their finger on the pulse, because you're out there talking to these people all the time and you know this stuff. This is the type of thing, what you have to offer and what you tell them. This is part of the data that should go into the whole package so that know how to respond to this, because they're not using these guys at all. I want to go back to talk a little bit about Kamala Harris, if that's okay. Absolutely. And whoever is going to be the running mate with Donald Trump, I agree. He's not going to have a woman or a black person, because he can't, because they're afraid. They're still thinking, what if she is the nominee? Mm-hmm. Or they kind of still have to run against her, because they're going to say if Biden wins, she could be president partway through, which is true. I'm fine with that. They they can't do their dog whistles. The whole thing about Kamala, they can't be okay with a woman or a black, especially a black woman, if the one thing they're going to do, either blatantly or under radar, is get their racist MAGA base. They're getting very scared of having a black woman, And obviously, these people, there's two things here. Like you say, I have a lot to unpack here. This business about putting together their dream ticket now, 4 months out, the Democratic dream ticket. And some people want to dump Kamala Harris. Do they really think that Black women and women of any color in this country are going to put up with that? And all primary voters who chose this ticket. Yeah. So these are what these idiots, so-called people and our allies, are going on TV talking about, and they're still out there doing this. And it's unbelievable. And they aren't even, and a third thing, and then I'll just let you talk so I don't have to interrupt you. All these reports that President Biden now tells everybody no events after 8:00 at night. He needs 8 hours sleep. Duh. And I started pulling up all of these articles showing George W. Bush needed his 8 hours.
Ronald Reagan
later. Trump only did like 5 hours of work a day. He'd roll into the office at noon. And then even Bill, and none of them did evening events. Bill Clinton would not do more than 3 evening events a week. This is standard. And I'm surprised that if they're packing his schedule as a candidate and an incumbent president, then somebody's not doing their job. This is something he shouldn't even have to say. It should already be that way. There is a science to scheduling your candidate. We were taught this at American Campaign Academy, a 10-week boot camp I went to. You divide the day into quarters, eventually into thirds, and each week you give the candidate what amounts to 2 full days off. Now, you try and make them full days when you can. After that, you break the day up. So you might get 2 quarters on this day, skip a day where you're working off work, and then the next day you get 2, so that you get a total of 8 quarters off a week of your own time. All right. After Labor Day, when things heat up, you might cut it down to, a day and a half. But this is a scheduling science because we are human beings. And the fact that they aren't doing this anyway, it doesn't matter for Trump. We know he does his rallies. He doesn't prepare. He doesn't have to because he lies, and he doesn't have to have facts and figures. He doesn't have to travel and go do campaign events. He just does rallies and golfs. So it's different for him. He's judged on a different scale. But President Biden, they should not be. They should be letting him be on the George W. Bush schedule or a similar all along, and they aren't. So there's a lot of things that led up to this moment. I just threw a lot at you, so go talk.
That's okay. No, that's okay. You talk about African Americans. Another opportunity. Dana Bash, Jake Tapper, to say something. Black jobs. Black jobs. What was that all about? That's his racism. What are black jobs? So what are black jobs? Picking cotton in the fields? Because Donald Trump thinks you need an ID to buy groceries. Okay. Donald Trump talks about gas prices, but when is the last time he ever put gas in a car? Okay. He talks all this crap. They don't check him on the black jobs. You talked about African Americans. Okay. You have Tim Scott, who is just beyond disgusting. I actually would love to reach out to families of like Byron Donalds and Tim Scott and ask them how they feel about how they are. How about and I have no sympathy for the guy that cried about he got screwed over in Georgia with the barbershop. He got paid $4,800. There was a contract. All of a sudden, he had no clue he thought it was going to be about black businesses. And then Trump, they screwed him over. He knew what he was doing. He took that money and he ran. Now, it didn't turn out the way he wanted because we have consequences cultures. And a lot of his African-American customers are saying ridiculous. But they didn't do
the money, didn't he?
Trump didn't even go to the barbershop. He wouldn't sit in a chair and get his hair cut like a lot of people would do. He called in with Byron or Ben Carson holding the phone. It's ridiculous. But, the other thing, you talk about Trump and you talk about Biden. When have you ever seen, I don't care if you hated every Republican president since Eisenhower, a circle of degenerate scumbags that Trump associates with. Okay, Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon stole from them for the wall, which, by the way, when he gets out after his 4 months, and let's put facts out there, Cheri. Steve Bannon said they're trying to spin it. They put Steve Bannon in prison because 4 months it hurt, Trump with No, Steve Bannon put himself in jail 4 months before because he could have went to jail and done his 4 months a long time ago, but he never wanted to go because he's a punk. So he kept stalling because a Trump judge was the judge that he went in front of. Oh boy, Peter Navarro went in front of an Obama judge. He finally went. Bannon kept stalling him. These people around him are the dregs of society. The worst. This rapper, I call him Fellatio Blow. His name is something else. It's very close. Disgusting. Latinos for Trump. Blacks for Trump. They're all paid, but they're disgusting. But here's the thing. Trump never denounces any of the anti-Semitism, the racism, the misogyny. Like you said, it's a dog whistle, and he doubles and triples down. Did you catch when he called President Biden Brandon in the debate? Did you catch that one?
No, I did not.
Yeah, he said Brandon. He said frickin' Brandon. And then
so that they all his little degenerates would start giggling from their mom's basements.
Exactly. You know, it's but you know what? I want to take it back one layer. What does it say about 25 to 30% of people in this country that after January 6th, they still support him? After he was adjudicated as a sexual assaulter, however the wording is, with Jeanie Perro, $83 million.
Yeah, it was a civil case. 34 of 34 felony charges he was found guilty on. By a jury of his peers. Of his peers.
But when have you ever heard anybody? He's the most innocent. The election was stolen because Trump told American people was. He's innocent because he told. All he does is look, the Epstein documents came out, a lot of them. His name is all over them. But where's the mainstream media talking about this stuff? The video of him with Jeffrey, he didn't know what Jeffrey Epstein was. He didn't know what Jeffrey Epstein was. It's like saying, I don't know about boxing and I'm in the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame. Give me a freaking break. But they let him get away with it, and the mainstream media is just as guilty. But the American public that still support him are disgusting to me. I knew they were here, and they were always racist, and they were always misogynist, and they were many things, but they needed a vessel to plant their lips to, and it's Trump. So he didn't cause it, he didn't start it, but he blew it out of proportion.
Yeah, and the fear that I've always had comes from me being a personal victim of Trump's. Starting in 2015, of course, when I was catfished, I was hacked, I was defamed. Then he had me banned from TV. Here he was, just a candidate in the primary, and he could pick up the phone and have somebody, a critic, kicked off. That was chilling, because I had always thought, in all my years on TV, like 20 years on TV and, a couple thousand segments, you always heard that, if you start complaining about someone you're on, if you pick up the phone and complain to producers or something, that's a surefire way to make sure you never get invited on again. Campaigns knew that. If the press staff was going to be picking up the phone and making a complaint to somebody at one of the cable nets, you better know your stuff. It's strategic, because you can't, the campaign can't be calling all the time saying that was unfair, kick this person off. That's a surefire way to get exposed and to pay a price. So it was shocking to me to see this happen. What happened with Fox when the day that I came out and publicly said on Twitter that Trump lied, that he did have a super PAC. They told me all about it, because there had been that Washington Post piece and that exposed a super PAC. It wasn't self-funding, and Corey Lewandowski and Trump both said that's not true, we're suing. And then I came out and said, excuse me, see, I didn't have an NDA. They just were trying to get me work for them. And I said, no, and they're talking openly about the super PAC. In fact, the first guy that approached me to come work for the campaign was going to be going to work for the super PAC. So when I did that, there was a follow-up piece in the Washington Post, and Lewandowski stammering around, and that's a different super PAC we talked about. So they were caught. I was supposed to be on Fox News that day. I was immediately canceled on. They still had the segment. And also Bill O'Reilly hopped on Gretchen Carlson's show midday, unannounced. He never does that. Oh, there's no super PAC. That's all a lie. Trump is self-funded. And I was sitting there in my apartment in New York, stunned. I instantly knew that I'd never be back on that network again after all these years, that I was banned, I was lied about. And that's also the day the FBI later, when we were putting together the dates, that was the day the catfishing of me started. Somebody pretending to be a lawyer representing a big Republican donors with dual citizenship that wanted to stop Trump, blah, 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 and they wanted to hire me. So there was that. And then when CNN did it, same thing. So we had our media completely upended, and it's still going on. So media has done this so that voters don't know. A lot of voters don't know what they don't know.
But Cheri, let's go back to what they said they wouldn't do. Okay, I could Google it and find exactly when it was said. But you'll remember, the mainstream media said they're not going to do this again with all of this free coverage. It was supposed to happen with the 2020 election because they gave him. Trump didn't pay for all this. He got more exposure. Billions of dollars? They said, or whatever it was. Yeah, whatever. A free exposure, and the mainstream media said, we will not do this again. And they did it again because it all boils down to ratings, and ratings is money, and commercials, as you well know, you were on TV more than I was. But it's ridiculous because, again, as an American that gave 20 years and 28 days to this country during 2 wars, to sit here and see the way that even the mainstream media covers him is ridiculous. We are 4 months out, not even, well, today, 4 months from today. Today's July 5th, August, September, October. 4 months from today, we vote. Now they want to talk about Project 2025 all of a sudden. Are you effing kidding me? Kevin Roberts goes on MSNBC. Now they kind of push back, but the insanity. And by the way, this guy's talking about if the left, a bloody revolution. Kevin Roberts never served 1 day in the military. Not 1 day. He's 50 years old. He looks like he's 70 years old. Okay, another fake Christian. They don't cover, but they want to talk about the debate. The debate. Are you kidding me? I'm not trying to hide anything. I know he had a bad night. Okay, to be honest with you, I didn't want him to debate him. And I'll tell you personally why I didn't want him to debate him. Because I didn't feel that he should be on the stage with a piece of crap like Donald Trump, who caused an insurrection, who's a convicted felon, and all the other things that Trump has done. Okay, he did the debate. Fine. He had an off night. It's despicable what they're doing. And what they don't understand is that the country that I defended, that I don't even recognize anymore, and I live in Trump territory out here, okay, with houses that have Trump 2024 flags up, that the last time they cut their grass was when he got inaugurated January 7th, 2017. Filthy, disgusting houses that Trump wouldn't even drive by with the Secret Service in his truck. But somehow they feel that's their guy. It's appalling what the mainstream media is doing and not completely calling it out. I know they do at times, but still, enough is enough. Most
of these people are watching Fox News, so let's go there. So I think the MSNBC and the CNNs are the ones that are going to take persuadable voters and put them right in the Trump camp and keep them there. Fox News out and out lies. I mean, I have family members who just they will not believe. I was telling my folks years before the Trump years, there was a time when I saw the change with Fox News, and I was on the network a lot. But I said, be a little bit careful here. Something's happened. Something has changed here. It used to be they had a bias, and they were outnumbered. So I could see where some people would think, okay, there was a need for something else, so there was a bias. But then it got to the point where, okay, now they're misleading people. Now they're lying. Now they are purposely hiding, one side. And so that was a change that I'm going to say was maybe 4 or 5 years even before Trump. I saw a change in Fox News. A lot of these people, a lot of the people that a lot of these veterans, they don't know that Fox is lying to them, and it might be too late. They won't believe it. And so the Dominion lawsuit, Fox had to pay out, $757 million. And they had to admit that they lied. 90% of Fox viewers, maybe more, don't even know that. They don't know they were lied to. And Fox will do it again and are doing it again and again and again. And and the viewers don't know. I mean, I know this because I have family members who think, and friends, they think they are well informed because they watch the news. I'm doing air quotes here.
Right.
So they really think that nothing has changed.
Well, but you know what? But Cheri, on your talking point with Fox News, you got Jeanie Perro, who if she's not a poster child for AA, I don't know who is. But let's talk about Jeanie Perro with her BS. former judge, found out that she was a judge in Westchester County. That's where I was born in New York. I was like, oh my God, my poor county.
Yeah, Trump gave 20 grand to her campaign, by the way, when she was running for
right. But let's step back. Trump pardoned her ex-husband who was with tax issues. Oh, really? I wonder how that worked. There wasn't.
Well, he also, by the way, Trump also had her husband on retainer when she was married to him. So she and her ex-husband have a financial obligation, and they owe Trump. He bought them. They're bought and paid for, is what we're saying.
Yeah, right. But you want to talk about a retainer? Let's go back. Let's do a history lesson for your listeners. One of the biggest, if not the biggest scumbag that ever was a lawyer, who goes back to the McCarthy era and sat on the things that Joe McCarthy did, and Richard Nixon was on it too. Roy Cohn, who molded Donald Trump in the image of him. He is a disciple of Roy Cohn.
Yeah.
What you want to talk about hypocrisy? The party that wants to attack the LGBTQ, Roy Cohn was gay and died of AIDS. But that's the party of let's attack the LGBTQ, let's destroy them, let's take them off the face of the earth. If you listen to them, but you have that clown on the Fox 5 or whatever it's called, Greg Gutcherwood. He's a comedian. Where is he? Where is his expertise? He's not even funny. He's a piece of garbage.
He's not.
But his wife is Russian. On the show.
His wife is Russian, for what it's worth.
Oh, imagine that. You got Jesse Waters, who's trying so badly to be Tucker Carlson, which he will never be, whose own mother called into the show, who's a Democrat, and said, behave yourself, tell the truth. And he couldn't tell the truth even for his mother.
You also have Dana Perino, who I have text messages from her from 2016, 2015, where she's like, I just don't understand this, what's happening to our party, because she and I were friendly, and she didn't understand Eric Bolling. She was so anti-Trump. But in order to keep her job, guess what? I mean, that's what so many of them did. That's what Kellyanne Conway did and George Conway did. They were for Trump. None of these people, and we'll wrap up here soon. I want to hear your comments on this. I already know how you feel, but all these people who worked for Trump, and then they supported him. And then when they got what they needed, or when they didn't get what they wanted, somehow they saw the light. They were fooled. First of all, they weren't fooled. They didn't see the light. They always knew what he was, but they thought there was something in it for them. And when they didn't get what they wanted, like with the George Conway, then they pivoted and became anti-Trump. Or some of these people no one ever heard of before. They weren't public figures, but they worked in the administration. And then when they were writing their books, or when they were done, or thought it was time to cash in, they quote saw the light, step into the limelight, say, I was fooled, here's the truth about him, and then they get book deals and TV gigs. Here's my point. If you were truly fooled, shame on you. Glad you're coming forward. Say your piece. But then we don't really need to hear from you again, because if you were so stupid as to be fooled, you're probably not a political expert or strategist that we need to have showcased as the best that we have. Secondly, if you weren't fooled and you were just doing it anyway, which we all know is the truth, then you're not honest. You're just an opportunist. And the producers and the TV networks should not be buying into it. There were enough real deals out there, and still are, where you don't need these people. And some of them were just secretaries or administrative staff in the Trump White House. They weren't the chief strategist. They might have worked for strategists. So they get out, or they give good testimony, and all of a sudden they're on TV giving political strategy, commentary, advising people, and they've never run a campaign. What's her name? Why am I forgetting? What's her name? Who worked for the White House chief of staff? That
Alyssa Farah, the one on The View?
No, not her. Well, her dad was a big right winger, really a nutcase. The one who testified, the big testimony in front of
Cassidy Hutchinson.
Cassidy Hutchinson, yeah.
She testified because she got a subpoena.
Yeah, she testified because she got a subpoena, realized she might be in trouble if she didn't tell the truth. And I can see somebody wanting to do a primetime interview with her once or twice, but the book and everything else, and now they have her on panels giving political advice. No. I had Mike Madrid on my podcast recently, and we were talking about these non-experts who might be an expert in one little area or have something to offer, but they go on TV as political experts, and I would say also legal experts that aren't. And he says it's damaging because Mike Madrid is the real deal. And he's, a numbers guy, data guy. He's the real deal. And he says it's damaging because when you go and talk to candidates and campaigns, they believe this crap that people say on TV. And then you have to pull them down and say, no, that's not how this is done. That's not how this works. So just like people think that the way to go, all ads from the beginning have to be this hardcore negative, bam, bam, bam. Well, that works for the base at a certain time and a certain point. And you do have to deliver bad news to voters, but sometimes you better do it with a velvet hammer because persuadable voters or people on the fence, you don't want to put them on the defensive. And so, Mike and I talked about this, about how non-experts are giving advice. I'm going to note George Conway again, and no, people, I don't have anything. It's people, oh, you really hate him. No, it's just, but he's an egregious example of this. He goes on late night television, Kimmel or The Tonight Show or something. He says, the way to defeat Trump is through ridicule, and Biden needs to ridicule him. It's like, you know what? That's not the way you defeat. You can have ridicule as part of it, but you risk minimalizing the danger. You have to show the danger of Trump. How freaking dangerous he is. But for George Conway, who's never worked in a campaign, he's never been he can't even give legal advice. He's not a former federal prosecutor. He's never worked for an AG. He's never worked on Capitol Hill. He's never worked in administration. He's never worked on a campaign. He's on TV because of his famous ex-wife and their reality show marriage. So, we need to be careful who we embrace as experts, because when it gets down to actually running the campaigns, then it takes a Jasmine Crockett to say, how you get these people on the ballot in 4 months? How do you get, we start early voting soon. How do you get name ID? No one knows who these other people are. So when the real experts get drowned out by the little celebrities.
And also another point, you'll know this because it's your wheelhouse better than mine. 4 months out, from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the war chest of Biden, I think whatever amount it is, I think they said 100 million, but whatever the number is, can go to Harris, but it can't go to another candidate. Is that right or wrong?
So that's the part that people don't quite understand. And also getting on the ballot is different in different states. So all of these things, these so-called political experts that viewers, people read and watch on TV and listen to, say this stuff having no idea what's really entailed. And if they think that all you have to do is ridicule Trump, well, we've been ridiculing Trump for 9 freaking years. And guess what? He's still here. What that does is in many ways makes people think that he's silly but harmless. I think it's okay to get the zinger in and do it as part of the larger thing. I think it's great I think we should ridicule him for being extremely unhealthy and lying about his weight and his health and his dementia and all of that, because that's important. But to have somebody who's the TV networks have propped up as an expert go on late night television and say that that's the strategy is ludicrous. We need to be listening to the Mike Madrids. And Mike Madrid is somebody who takes the data and the information. He would take the stuff that you're saying based on you being out there every day, talking to veterans, talking and listening to regular people. And then also knowing, I'm sure that you have a different audience with Ringside Report when you're talking politics than when you're talking about veterans on your regular show. So you have something to offer in terms of the feedback, because you know what for lack of a better term, the lower information voters who haven't quite locked in on the election yet, kind of where they are versus those who pay closer attention but maybe listening to the wrong media. That stuff is not being weighed by some of the experts that we see on TV. They don't know. They don't care.
Right.
Anyway, all right.
I want to make a point for your listeners too. If you follow me, you're going to see I don't go far. I'm not far left, and the right, forget about it. I'm in the middle. For example, the other day when Alexander Vindman, he was up in D.C. when I was there. Now, he was a whistleblower during the Ukraine thing. Trump fired him. He's got his twin brother, Eugene. Eugene was at the event that I was at, Vote Vets. I called him out because he was another one that said President Biden should step down. And I went after him. I don't care if he's military. That don't mean anything to me. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? First of all, you're Ukrainian. You want him to step down? Because if Trump wins, we even talk about
this.
Ukraine is done.
Exactly.
Ukraine is effing done. They're
when
going
Claire
to be wiped
McCaskill,
out.
yeah, you're right. When Claire McCaskill, right after the debate, because they had
saw it.
airtime to fill, when she got up there, and I like her, when she
I do
stood up and
too.
said, "Well, he needs to go," it's like right there. Have you just thought about what's going to happen to the Ukrainian people? And this is
Exactly.
why
But they
we need.
don't, Cheri. They don't.
So a senator, but she's a former senator. But she's not a campaign expert. And I think that if she were still a senator and she was called on to go on TV right after the debate, she might have had staff that would have said, well, let's look at this a little bit. And they might have looked at the ramifications.
Yeah.
She made a mistake. I said she's not a campaign expert. She is. She's won, she's lost. So, but she was there as a pundit, I think, with the need to fill the time rather than acting as a senator or a senior statesman or something like that. And this is where I fear that these people who we thought were allies, or who at least make their living pretending to be our allies, did more damage than the debate itself.
Cheri, they did. And I'm going to tell you something. I don't sugarcoat anything. If I thought President Biden should step down, I would be the first one to say I know we only got 4 months, but whoever it's going to be, he's not. No, absolutely not. I've blocked people that I've followed for years on Twitter because they're like, well, what if there's no what ifs. There's 4 months left. And if we lose the election, we lose the election, but it's going to be with Joe Biden and not with some fakakta made up dream team of Gavin Newsom and this one or that one or whomever. If you have loyalty to the president, and I don't mean loyalty like the Trumpers have the Trump. I'm talking about for everything he has accomplished that we could spend 3 shows talking about.
That's called loyalty to America. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Loyalty to America. Period. Because Robert Kennedy is eating dogs and talking about brain worms. There's no third party candidate and look, I like Ross Perot. I like John Anderson back when he ran, when it was Carter, Reagan, and John Anderson was the independent, but Robert F. Kennedy is not an option. Okay. They need to stop with that. One question I want to ask you, I want to flip the show on you for a second, because you're a very intelligent woman. I think I know what you're going to say, but it irritates the hell out of me when people say, well, maybe, and it's all Trumpers, of course. Donald Trump, during the debate, said, after Joe Biden hit him with like 4 things, only thing he said was, didn't sleep with a porn star. Okay, where is your common sense? Cheri, if he didn't sleep with Stormy Daniels, why did the cheapest SOB that walks on planet Earth, it's documented how cheap he is. He doesn't pay contractors. He doesn't pay people, period. Or he paid Michael Cohen a percentage of what he really owed him when he was an attorney back at the very beginning, before he hired him. Why would you pay $130,000?
Okay, Brad, his supporters know that he slept with a porn star and that he broke the law by covering up and, his campaign. It was election interference.
But
they
he's still going to lie.
They don't care. He's lying. He knows they know he's lying. They like it. They think that the fact that he can lie and get away with it makes him strong.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. They think, right. You've heard the thing, Donald Trump is a poor man's idea of a rich man, a weak man's idea of a strong man, blah, 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 blah. And he is. He stands up there on the stage at his rallies and, he's completely out of it. Drugs, age, he can hardly walk, can't drink water. He obviously has dementia. He thinks he's running against Obama. He thinks that, Nikki Haley was Speaker of the House on January 6th.
Yeah.
He does this.
How about Ronnie Johnson? Ronnie Johnson.
Yeah, it's Ronnie Johnson. So he's done this over and over and over again because he knows he can stand up there and say anything and his supporters don't care. Fox News doesn't care. And now we're seeing that mainstream media just sort of yawns. He knows that they are driven by clicks and ratings. He knew where the line was drawn with Democrats, congressional Democrats, when they decided not to impeach him over obstruction of the Mueller report. I think there was a very good chance Republicans in the Senate would have had to vote to convict him because this was pretty early on. And at that time, they were eager to get rid of him. And at that time, also, to be impeached was a very, very big deal. When Nancy Pelosi, who I love and respect, when she whiffed, when she blinked, he knew then that he could just crash through all the guardrails. He was right, and it worked for him. So when the fact that we were in a position where one debate, with an incumbent president, with one debate with an incumbent president, one of the best in our lifetime, definitely top third, according to the studies, in the history of this country. One debate that goes bad, not because he said anything wrong, just people thought he looked old. So one debate, we got to the point where Trump is even on the stage with Biden, and we're going to put it on Biden. This has been coming for a long time. It was with the media. It was with the different groups that, said, give us your money, give us your money. We're going to fight Trump. We're going to fight Republicans. And then they stuffed tens of millions of dollars in their own pockets, which lost Democrats the House. When they do this, and then we have these idiots saying all you have to do is ridicule, and we have people, telling us, lulling us into a false sense of security with Garland because they built their own cottage industry and got fame. People who were absolute gadflies, who no one heard of before, that we started valuing more than what Adam Schiff was saying. And Adam Schiff had worked at DOJ, knew people there were saying there's nothing going on there, people, and he was publicly warning Garland not to wait for January 6th meet. But we have the Garland cheerleaders who lulled everybody into a false sense of security, and look what happened. We let ourselves become sitting ducks. So there's a number of things that have built up over the course of these 9 years, where people just, our side got as gullible as the other side, and it is, it's unfortunate. But Trump always knew, plus he has the help of Putin. Putin is one to tell him to dominate, dominate the streets. So they understand American media. Trump understands it. Plus, he was in cahoots with Jeff Zucker when Jeff Zucker was running CNN, who greenlit The Apprentice for him when he was head of entertainment at NBC. So Trump understood what to look for, to know when there was cracks, knew how to take advantage. I don't think it's any accident that some of these people who were broke and getting ready to lose their house suddenly found themselves with millions and millions of dollars. I don't think it's an accident that some of these people lulling us into a false sense of security about Garland somehow became famous and built networks and things like that. And remember, we would not even have known that there was a raid on Mar-a-Lago for the documents had Trump not told us, because Merrick Garland was keeping it a secret. So
Cheri, that documents case, because I worked 16 and a half out of 20 in the Navy, and then another 6.5 finishing up at DHS in 2012 dealing with classified material. He's so guilty. The thing is, like, I had Glenn on recently, Glenn Kirshner, and we talked about Jack. I always forget his last name, Teixeira or something, the kid that got 16 years. He was locked up pre-trial. Trump doesn't even get locked up pre-trial on these cases. Not nothing. Now, it's what he did. Any person that says, I don't care if they're left, center, or right, is an American. This man stole classified documents. Julius and Ethel Rosenberg got put to death for treason in the 1950s. This is insanity. It's effing insanity. And it really, 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 really pisses me off. I know we're getting ready to wrap up, but we didn't talk about it, but I really wish that we would. One topic, because I'd like to hear what you have to say too. Supreme Court with this immunity.
People should not be surprised. I think that we were all afraid because this thing had gotten out of hand with the Supreme Court, but we knew this was happening. But again, we also know that George Conway helped build this court, and the fact that people refuse to see that, and now they're acting all surprised, and they still won't. We knew this was happening at the time. We knew it was a disaster, and we had to just sit here and let it happen. I don't know if they factored that in some of the campaign plans, but we knew. I think we knew this was going to happen, and none of this would have happened if Merrick Garland had done his job, Brad, because Trump would not have been a candidate. Remember, Merrick Garland dragged his feet to the point where now Trump could announce he was running for president. Yep. Everything changed then, and history is not going to be kind to Merrick Garland. I don't think it's just. I don't think we can write it off as just incompetency or having a different approach. It gets to the point where you have to understand that he's complicit, because it is that bad. And there was leaks from the White House that they were unhappy with, and that's the time when you're supposed to step down. He didn't do it. So, America, girl, we're in trouble. We're in danger. So anyway, all right. Brad, thanks for coming by. This was kind of a rough podcast because we don't have a lot of good news, and I don't want to sugarcoat it for people. I don't want to. It's not that I'm trying to be Debbie Downer, but like you, I try to make it real. This is break the glass, pull the alarm time. We are in real danger here.
Amen.
All right, you are at Bad Brad RSR on Twitter. Everybody, follow him on Twitter, tune into his podcast, and I'm hoping that one day we have better noon. Brad, thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me on, Cheri.